Hello everybody, this is the presentation on contracts. The concept of a contract is to have a written legal document so both parties understand and agree on various things such as food and beverages provided, rooms reserved, services needed, pricing, attrition, and indemnification. A contract is a binding agreement between two or more parties or persons, especially one legally enforceable. The idea of an agreement/contract originated in Greek and Roman law. The modern development of contract law occurred as a part of the Renaissance of Western Europe in the 13th century. 15th century common law courts were the first courts to enforce contracts, and today contracts are used in many areas to define the terms of an agreement.
Applied in the mech industry, all aspects of the event need to be specified in the contract. That includes hotel rooms, the function space, reservation procedures, food and beverage, attrition rates, and billing procedures. Additional exhibits you'll need are a food and beverage price list, a schedule of the events, and meeting room floor plans. And you also need to include standard legal aspects such as indemnification and insurance, termination procedures and rights for termination, changes, disputes, and arbitration procedures, and any obligations and policies of either party signing the contract.
So benefits, issues, and concerns. One of the benefits is protection of assets, which is guarding your assets from anyone who wants to do you or your party harm. Contracts and agreements protect goods, services, and customers through legal documentation that ensures that all arrangements are legally binding. Next is responsibility. Contracts and agreements clearly articulate the responsibility each party has entering into the agreement. Legally binding. Holding both groups legally accountable creates another layer of rules that cannot be broken, as policies and procedures can be altered by either side's lawyer. Next is issues and concerns. Cavia emptor is a Latin phrase meaning buyer beware. The burden of responsibility for purchases of goods and services falls on the buyer, not the seller. This phrase requires notification to the buyer that the goods that are purchased are as is or subject to all defects. Dispute resolution. Making sure you know how your disputes will be resolved can save you a lot of headache. Knowing whether you'll end up in court, arbitration, mediation, or escalation can be a big difference in how you conduct business. Allocation of risk. One of the most important aspects of a contract and often overlooked, covering everything from warranties, service charges, and limitations on liability.
Trends. Food and beverage spending is one. Sometimes these are calculated into the contracts, as some give food and beverage minimums and assign them to specific meeting spaces. Most of the time, the sales manager is inputting the information that the planner is sending over. They will calculate that specific number into the contract. Resort fees is the second. Some hotels are trying to implement a daily amenities fee. This could include free Wi-Fi, free parking, even a welcome beverage. There are many ways that companies are trying to promote, and those who have already promoted it are trying to hang on to it. Most are trying to enforce the added cost, but they are including the resort fee into the contract as a part of the total revenue commitment. The last trend is lead time and booking further out. Hotels especially are trying to push for companies to book further out so that they are able to spend some time to commit to the group or not. This will give the hotel ample time to figure out if the group would be good for the hotel or not, and the price that they could generate for the amount of rooms. Mainly, this is a trend that they are trying to get to be permanent, as this could potentially lead to the hotel to generate more business. If a company is calling about a small amount of rooms, the hotel could potentially be able to add another small group on top of the first group to generate more business and revenue.
Looking here at the example of the contract we have from the Columbia Metropolitan Convention Center, we can see that a lot is included in a contract. First, we have the license agreement number, which makes it easier for the supplier to organize and keep track of the contracts they have with different clients. Next, we want to have the contact info so that we can easily contact the client about anything regarding the contract. As we get into paragraph 1, which contains the basics of the event that will take place, this will include the schedule of what type of event is taking place, what space is needed, and what setup must take place. Sometimes additional costs may come into effect for events containing food and beverage, as you see below the schedule block. All contracts contain different sections or paragraphs that go into detail about the agreement that is being set forth by the supplier. And then lastly, we wrap up with the signature of the general manager of the host company and the signature of the client, which finalizes the agreement between the two. To wrap up our PowerPoint, we have a few learning points and takeaways. The first being that a contract is a written legal document so both parties agree on various things. The second is that everything is negotiable. And the last one is if you don't understand it, don't sign it. Thank y'all.